So where do we start from here? Tapos na ang narrative, no? So it's all about 1949 election in Lanao and in Negros. Nothing has changed since 1949 election year. The Liberal Party was the one accused of fraud. Then may violence sa Negros. So does history repeat itself? So if we are cynical,
Okay, there you are.
what it means is nothing has changed. So we are talking about now unpacking the Bangsamoro Vote. So kaya sabi ni Salik, parang nabaliktad. So we really wanted the situation to turn the head of the electoral process. So if we go by that, there is no choice of voter. There is no, by that image, in that context, there is no preference of voter here. So what I outlined, and I hope this can be shared to our colleagues, are, presentations of what can we do in the light of the parliamentary structure in Bangsamoro, and how are we going to deal with the electoral code that they are going to draft. Carol has presented that no, if we are to change the narrative that has been presented by Salik, Brother Salik, there is no hope. But I guess we have to go back to these key words. Why do citizens vote? And the key words here goes to the other question. Does voter turnout reflect political behavior of its citizens? Parang walang citizen sa Lanao kung ganun. They are not citizens. Hindi sila butante. The way they are behaving, is it the behavior of a citizen? Hindi ata. We are not looking for leaders. We're not, let's use the word selecting rather than voting for leaders. So kaya what I have done is to highlight the word turnout, because there is no other way to look at behavior except turnout. So the classic question in political science is there really a reasoned consumer in terms of the voter? What's that? In economics, you consume what is sold in the market. So what is marketed here are the actors that Brother Salik was describing. So if they are uninformed electorate, then they don't look at candidates, they don't look at parties, they don't look at issues at all. In short, the connection between the electoral process and the citizenry in Lanao is nil, nothing, none. So what's going on every election year? Oh, let's go to the behavior of citizens. If we assume that they are citizens of Lanao, never mind Cotabato in the meantime, never mind Sulu in the meantime. Well, the behavior of casting a vote is really preference. It's about preference. And so, what has been described so far is a stereotype. But I think there are other legitimate pictures. There are other imagery that we can describe, because what has been described here so far is the cheating side. In other words, the fraud, and not, well, the violence is not yet there. So what is offered to, let's say, MILF, therefore, is in the course of our negotiation, typically in negotiation, peace negotiation, as in the Northern Ireland negotiation process, it's either the ballot or the bullet. So is the preference for bullet or is the preference for ballot? Now, an unsophisticated voter will get involved but will not make a rational decision. So I think this page here summarizes what is called interest. Do they have interest in participating in the electoral process? Do citizens care about the choice that we are making it's a one-day choice only. It's not two-day choice. It's not even 24 hours. So it's a choice. It's really marketing. So we are also marketing the democratic process to the Bangsamoro people, but we cannot use the narrative just presented. I'm sorry, I cannot use it because it does not describe the whole of Bangsamoro. I'm sure I was elected a congressman, not that way. So let me review a little of the vote bank that Carol was referring to, and the so-called treasure hunting of additional votes. That's only done by the senators who are tail enders in the would-be turnout of the voting results. So I will go there, go to that point later on. But the vote bank, let's look at the record so that we are able to rationalize at least, no? Because voter behavior is about analysis of data so that we can have a rational, we can have an empirical basis for decision making. So let's start with the approach that the process that was earlier described by Carol is the journalistic approach of election, which is about the candidates, the events that's taking place, how they campaign. Now, the analysis that is taking place today has moved over to some improvement. Let's say survey. Survey is a function of an empirical mind, a rational mind, looking at the results. They may not be that accurate, but at least you have an idea of what is going on. Now, for all intents and purposes, this is how the Bangsamoro people actually voted on record. I'm not saying that there were no cheating or there were no violence that has taken place in the polling places, or that there were no briberies or vote buying. What I am saying that per registration of voters, these are the turnouts. 1 million, what's that, 89,153 male. Then you have the female there, over 1 million also. So totaling to 1.6 million equals 73% turnout. If you compare that to the national turnout, the national turnout is 75%. These statistics are taken from research, including that of Ateneo and the COMELEC itself and other. I don't have to be academician here and make citations. No, can we move over to an interesting slide? Can you please look at the slide on the issue, the link between parliamentary structure and what is to be conducted as election in arm. Okay. Let us assume that there are changes in the publics. The word public means what is out there, what is open, no? So the publics are the audiences. The public preferences, there are trends there. For example, aggregate level choices seems to have changed. There is a weakening of affection for loyalty to a given party. The attachment, in other words, it's wobbling. And the reason is because of the intervention of social media. The social media influence, how people now run it's not yet campaign time now. By this time, it's not yet campaign time. There is a violation actually. But out there, you see the presidential balls, you see the senators, they are out there wooing the voters. No, but the COMELEC says, kailan mag-umpisa yung vote, yung campaign. So, hindi pa. Ngayon, no? But look, they are already there. So, because of photo ops, photo operations, opportunities, and then you have walkabouts. You see, they are marching. They are on tour also. Then there are personal interviews, and above all, there is streaming in the apps. No, so the result of this, if you apply it to BARM, because BARM is not participating, they are not supposed to participate yet. What they are doing now is they're footing a front. It's something that usually is not done, but they have put up candidates, but they are fronts of this. These are not their own true party mates. Now, but look here, my friends, there is a decline in party line voting. There will be decline in straight voting. So there will be split ticket voting. Well, some of the presidential votes are trying to present a common front. Our own structure of the national system is that, unlike that of the United States, is when you vote for a presidential candidate, it does not follow that the vice president is also elected. So it's the other way around. That's why there is a split ticket voting. Now for the MILF, because they are going to seek the voters in 2025, 21-25 yet, well, there would be a transitioning to the post-honeymoon, which is called post-honeymoon effect. No, they are not going to be mabango anymore by then if they don't perform. So they have got to perform, because that's the only way they will be mabango. They will be acceptable to the voters. I am looking at the other. Can we move on to another slide? I'm sorry. Let's look at the other slide. Can you please move over? No, not yet. Back. Okay, the phenomenal voting. Here in this page, I capture what has taken place, like that of Carol, and more like that of Brother Salik. What has been going on? So you see, when we say unpacking, meaning it is already there, so we want to take a second look, and maybe we can repackage this for the parliamentary election. Our famous congressman was Saripada K. Pendatun. He was an epitome of the American style of being a congressman, being a senator. He was an amboy, to be short, because he was reared by Kuder. Kuder was the American superintendent of schools here in the Moro province. Now, he was a very good politician in terms of wheeling and dealing in Manila, in the House of Representatives as well as in the Senate. And he was deputy speaker. But how was he elected to office is the question. So this was post World War II. There were only two party system. There were only two parties in the two-party system. So the choice was either vote for Nacionalista Party or Liberal Party. So the clan politics suited into this two-party system. And so when the clan votes, they vote in terms of this vote bank. No? You built in na yun, Beliwick. So he theorized, his lawyers theorized, I was a young lawyer, but not yet appearing in court, that if he gets a zero vote, that would be statistically improbable. In other words, that Lagumbay case was a follow-up of that case study. The Pendatun case, this was Pendatun versus Sinsuat, running for Congress. And so he argued, his lawyers argued in the COMELEC, and later on it reached the Supreme Court, that it would be improbable that I will get a zero vote in an area where I am not the son of that voting precinct or municipality. So this is the improbability theory. No, I don't have to state here the rationale for this, but I move over to another generation, but the same people, the same politicians, but another generation, which is when martial law was declared. So the era of Marcos martial law was an era when there was only one party, the KVL practically. And so that is why we could have somebody like Governor Ali Di Mapuro, and he used to brag about command votes that in his district, that in the Bangsamoro area, what is now Bangsamoro area, Lanao area, plus the others, there would be a command vote. So this was the trend. And if you look at another generation, this is Andal's time. I hesitate to mention the president to whom this Hello Garci call is connected, But I know that the ama of this president was referring to Datu Andal, and because he could deliver Maguindanao has the largest boat, and he could marshal also the military commanders in the area. Now, this is what is referred to as the treasure hunting that I talk about when Carol interviewed me. So it applies to a presidential candidate, but it applies most of the time, every election, to yung bang mga senador na kandidato na tail enders, yung between 12, 11, or yung humahabol. So humahabol din ng votes. So what Brother Salik has said about hindi naman siguro ito true only to the Muslim areas, but it is also true to the other areas, is exactly happening for this treasure hunting votes of respective senators. And whose fault is this? The Bangsamoro people's fault? Or have we been taught the right way to vote, the right way to select or elect leaders? So we reviewed the situation when we were negotiating. I'm sure later on the MILF leadership, the Central Committee, if they still recall, we were looking for a means to change this highly personalized voting system or selecting, where there is no real strengthening of party system. And of course, I should add, because I'm the principal author of, I crafted that law on party list system. And so we were hoping that by changing at least we did not want to dictate to the whole country, but we wanted to opt for a parliamentary type of governance, not pure British UK kind of election. Of course, Miswari himself, in his time, was advocating for a parliamentary setup. But you see, the irony is he accepted the presidential type. That's why he became a regional governor. So here is again Chairman Murad. Well, they have accepted the parliamentary setup, but they're not doing anything about it in Parliament. That is our frustration. There was a 2019 workshop. I told Carol, we can review that, but we should pick up the pieces. There are many recommendations there, like strengthening the party system or the parties themselves, and so many other recommendations here. But what we can do this afternoon, I don't know how much time is left, Madam Chair, for discussion purposes, no? I'd like to probably give a little time to what should be recommended to the members of the parliament to do, no? In the light of our experience. It's a serious matter to recommend the system, because they are going to be elected in 21-25. If Parliament, which would be reconstituted, I hope that it will reach also the ear of the President. Here and now, I am recommending that we the president appoints members of parliament who can draft laws and legislate laws, actual laws in parliament, and not just the handiwork of non-ministers or eligibles, or because it's a serious business. We are going to be affected by it. And 50% would be elected. Well, as to the remainder, the 40% which are allocated through seats that would be allocated on the basis of, let's say, party list or reserved seats, that's not a problem. That can easily be approached to some other means, no? The idea also of a proportional representation comes to mind at this point in time. Now, let's go to another slide. This is what you get for catching up with time. I'm sorry, Carol. So we can conclude so that we will have time for mutual discussion, questions and answer, that the real change will be that the leadership in parliament will not be directly elected by the Bangsamoro. So maybe that is a good chance to repair this narrative that Salik, Brother Salik, has pictured, a very detailed picture. But that is only one side of the coin, no? That's the experience in Lanao. Because in Cotabato City, I don't think, not all of those practices were taking place or are taking place, or in, let's say, I don't know about Sulu in particular on election day. But certainly, we should not lose faith in the electoral process. And I should point out in this page that a cabinet government is to be formed. And this is to be formed not by one man, two-man team, but it's going to be formed by the majority party or a coalition of the parties that will garner the votes necessary to be declared winner. So this would change the complexity of voting. Even I think the mentality of the voters will change once we educate them. This is the important advocacy, what is called political education. We have to continue. Carol, I know you at one point in time almost despaired that you have been writing about the peace process, but it's not going where you would have wanted it to be ideally. But now is our chance. Let us educate the Bangsamoro people. And I am referring to Bangsamoro people, both Christians and non-Muslims, as well as the indigenous people, or whoever has decided to reside in the Bangsamoro area, so that we will have a little bit of faith and hope in the democratic process. Otherwise, we should declare the Sultanate on deck again. We would be happy to do that, because I am a direct descendant of the bloodline, and we would be sitting and receiving money from the state, from the government for free. No? So I will end here, and I hope that I have raised enough issues. Maybe in the course of our discussion, we can have some more clarification. So in conclusion, uh, clan voting is what we have even in Manila, except that we do not use the word clan. We use the word elite class. If you go by economics category, you would consider the elitist and the non-elitist. I don't think there is a cleavage, economic cleavage. Otherwise, we should admit the Communist Party of the Philippines, and I challenge the NDF, that they should field candidates. They should come out openly already. They should end up with a negotiation and let us clear the way for election. Come on, be part of the electoral process, and then we will see if you are if your flagship is the Communist Party line. Let's see if you can sit in Congress. Actually, some are coming through my party list system. There have been a chance for some of them, our friends there, who have socialist minds, socialist orientation. They have come through the back door, and it is no longer a back door because we have provided it in the party list system. So I will end here my short presentation.